Hello and welcome to another edition of Missy Makes It Up As She Goes. I say this because one of my lovely customers pointed out that I don't actually have a video for the leaf I use most often in my kits, which is this one. So I thought I would go ahead and do one that walks through the most popular leaves that I put in my kits. So this one is just a straight stitch, a satin at an angle, and usually, okay, the leaves that come in the patterns are much smaller, but I blew these up so that it would be easier to see. So hopefully that helps. Alright, so you're going to follow the pattern guide to tell you how many strands you're going to have, but since these leaves are huge, and I want you guys to be able to see this, I'm using 6 strands. So for this one, you're going to start in the middle somewhere, and then you'll bring it at an angle like that so that you get some kind of dimension with the way your floss is going. And you're going to try and keep them tight. And just go back and forth. Okay, and here's a tip for you. If you're doing a satin stitch, you'll notice that you're just going around and around and around in a loop. And on the back side, you're using as much floss as you are on the front side. So, you know, once you get pretty proficient at this, you can actually come up next to the stitch that you just put down and then go back and forth like that. You just want to make sure you're not going through the same hole you just made, because then you'll lose the last stitch. So you went down, and you come right back up next to it. This is a little more complicated with a 1 or 2 strand stitch because they have to be so close. But for chunkier stitches, you're going to blow through a lot of floss. You can actually reduce that by half if you just stop going in loops and do side to side. And then when you get down to the end of the point, I feel like it's better to go around and around for a more consistent look. It just gets kind of tight in there. Okay, so let's say you've got your leaf working and you realize that there are some gaps. These are really easy to fix. You don't have to pull stitches out or anything. Let's start with this big one right here. So you're going to bring your needle up on the bottom between the two stitches that you already have in that gap, and then don't bring it all the way down here unless the gap is on that side too, but you don't need to do that. Just use the needle to split it and drop it somewhere in the middle so it fills in the spot. Okay, so you've made it all the way to the end. We filled in some of the gaps. Now we're going to work in the other direction. And you just bring that stitch up right close to the first one you did and go the other way. Alright, there you go. It's not perfect or wonderful, but it is full and it is fast. Alright, this is particularly useful when you have small leaves that you can't do a lot of pretty stitch details in. You still need it to be kind of a leaf shape, so I have some kits with these ones in there, and they're tiny, 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 so it just takes a couple of stitches to fill them up, but I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to start at the top and go all the way down to the bottom. And then back to the top, move it down a little bit. And these first two side stitches are going to go right in the same bottom hole. In the bottom hole. Okay, now your next set of stitches, you're going to put here and here, and you do 1, 2 in the same hole, 1, 2 in the same hole. So you can bring it up on the side here. Go back down there. Okay, and then as we move along, we'll come and make the other stitch here, and then go back on that hole we just made. So it gives it kind of an angled look. It's not severe, but it does give it some kind of shape, and it's helpful when you've got small leaves that you really can't do a whole lot with. And then move it along, and then you'll do another hole there. And then this one goes back in that same hole. So you get the idea. And then you just finish this leaf off. Just make sure you cover up any of the lines or printed areas. Oh, come on. Because of course. There you go. It's got a nice little shape, uniform, nice and filled. Alright, this one looks fancy, but once you get the hang of it, you'll find that you're like flying through these leaves. Because remember, they're always smaller than this. This is gigantic. So, for this one, you're going to basically use a fly stitch, which we've gone over in other videos, but I'll show you how to start because it's a little bit different than the fly stitch. So, you come up at that top, and bring that stitch down to some point along the lines. Usually it's marked, like where my line starts is where you end that first stitch. And then you'll come up again. Back down. Down. Okay, so that is the base of your stitches. And now I'm going to start on one side and then cross to the other. But don't pull this all the way through. You'll leave this big loop and you'll come up the middle again. And then pull it. Hopefully your thread is not all crooked like mine. And this is the tack stitch, right down close to where you came up. On the other side of the loop, pull it down so everything's secure. And it doesn't matter what side you start on. So up through one side, down through the other, leave that loop. And do your little tack stitch. Up one side, down the other. Then your little tack stitch. Got the idea? Alright, let's jam this out. Okay, now let's, for the sake of discussion, say that you come to a point where you can no longer see that middle line, and this happens a lot when I tuck leaves behind flowers or whatever, like you can still see the sides, but this middle point is gone. So at that point, you're going to use the stitches that you've already done as a guide to finishing it. So, like if your flower came up around here, then you can just do like that. Work one side and then the other. Just want to make sure you're keeping that angle the same direction. All right. So, I hope this clears things up for you guys and makes it a little bit easier. I'm sorry I didn't post this earlier, but if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Kind of like the customer that emailed me and said, hey, there's no leaf tutorial, like, am I missing it? And I'm like, nope, I'm a moron, I'll go make one of those real quick. So, thanks for watching, have a good day, happy stitching, see ya.